My brother destroyed my life, so I destroyed his empire. I'm writing this from my new apartment, 3 states away from where everything went down. It's been 6 months since I completely obliterated my brother's life, and I still don't know if I should feel guilty or satisfied. Maybe both. But after what he did to me, after how he systematically destroyed everything I cared about, I think he got exactly what he deserved. My name is Marcus, I'm 34, and until last year, I thought I had the perfect life. I was married to the love of my life, Sarah, for 8 years. We had 2 beautiful kids, Emma, 7, and Jake, 5. I owned a successful construction company that I'd built from nothing, employing about 30 people in our small town. We had a nice house, good friends, and I thought my family was solid. My brother Tyler is 2 years younger than me, and he's always been the golden child. Charming, good-looking, successful in everything he touches. He's a real estate developer who makes more money in a month than most people see in a year. He's got the Midas touch. Every project he takes on turns to gold. Our parents always held him up as the example I should follow, even though I was doing pretty well myself. Tyler and I were close growing up. Best friends, really. We played on the same sports teams, dated each other's ex-girlfriends with permission, and when I started my construction company, he was one of my biggest supporters. He even threw some contracts my way when he was developing new subdivisions. I trusted him completely. That trust was my biggest mistake. The first sign something was wrong came about a year ago. Sarah started acting differently. She was always on her phone, texting someone and smiling in a way that made my stomach turn. She'd take calls in the other room, shower at weird times, and started working late at her job at the bank more often than usual. I'm not a paranoid guy, but I'm not an idiot either. I knew something was up. When I asked her about it, she just said she was stressed about work, that they were understaffed, and she was picking up extra responsibilities. It seemed plausible. Sarah had always been ambitious, and she'd been trying to get promoted for months. But then I started noticing other things. She'd come home with a new necklace she claimed was from her sister. She'd smell like cologne that wasn't mine. She'd get defensive when I asked simple questions about her day. And the worst part, she stopped looking me in the eye when we talked. The breaking point came on a Tuesday night in March. Sarah said she was working late again, but when I called the bank to see if she wanted me to pick her up, they told me she'd left at 5 p.m. like always. I sat in my truck outside our house for 2 hours, waiting for her to come home, my mind racing with possibilities. When she finally walked through the door at 9:30, her hair was messed up and her lipstick was gone. She looked guilty as hell. "Where were you?" I asked, trying to keep my voice calm. "I told you, working late, we had a big presentation to finish. I called the bank. They said you left at 5. The look on her face, panic, then anger, then resignation, told me everything I needed to know. "Marcus, I can explain. Are you cheating on me?" She broke down crying, but not the kind of crying that comes from being caught in a lie, the kind that comes from relief that the secret is finally out. "Yes," she whispered. "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry." I felt like I'd been punched in the stomach. 8 years of marriage, 2 kids, and she was throwing it all away for some affair. Who? I asked, though part of me already knew. There was only one person who could make her smile like that, who could afford to buy her expensive jewelry, who she'd be willing to risk everything for. "Tyler," she said, and my world collapsed. My own brother. The person I trusted more than anyone in the world. The godfather to my children. The best man at my wedding. He'd been fucking my wife behind my back, and apparently, she was in love with him. I moved out that night, staying in a motel while I tried to process what had happened. Sarah called me crying, begging me to come home, saying it was a mistake, that she'd end it with Tyler. But I could tell her heart wasn't in it. She was saying what she thought I wanted to hear. The next morning, I called Tyler. I needed to hear it from him, needed to understand how he could betray me like this. "Marcus, I'm glad you called. Sarah told me what happened. Look, I know this is fucked up, but..." "How long?" I interrupted. "What? How long have you been screwing my wife?" Silence for a long moment. Then, "About 6 months. 6 months. While I was working 60-hour weeks to support my family, while I was coaching Jake's little league team, while I was planning Sarah's surprise birthday party, my brother was planning how to steal my wife." "Why?" I asked, though I wasn't sure I wanted to know the answer. "I don't know, man. It just happened. We were working on that loan for the Morrison project, and we started talking more, and one thing led to another. That's bullshit, Tyler. Things like this don't just happen. You made a choice. You chose to destroy my family. Marcus, I love her. I know that sounds crazy, but I do. And she loves me too. We didn't plan this, but now that it's happened, we can't pretend it didn't. Love. He was talking about love like that made it okay. Like being in love justified destroying my marriage, my family, my life. What about Emma and Jake? What about your nephews? They'll understand eventually. And honestly, Sarah and I can give them a better life. More stability, more opportunities. I hung up on him. I couldn't listen to any more of his justifications. That's when I started planning my revenge. See, the thing about Tyler is that for all his success, he's always been careless with details. He trusts people too easily, doesn't read contracts carefully, and assumes everyone operates with the same level of honesty he pretends to have. These flaws had never hurt him before, because I'd always been there to watch his back, to catch the things he missed. But now, I was going to use those flaws against him. I started by hiring a private investigator, not to catch Tyler and Sarah. I already had all the evidence I needed of their affair. I wanted to know everything about Tyler's business dealings, his finances, his vulnerabilities. I told the PI I was thinking about investing in Tyler's company and wanted to do due diligence. What I learned was fascinating. Tyler's real estate empire looked impressive from the outside, but it was built on a foundation of debt and questionable deals. He'd been taking shortcuts, bribing city officials, and using substandard materials in his constructions. He'd also been creative with his taxes, hiding income in offshore accounts, and claiming deductions for personal expenses. Most importantly, I learned that Tyler's biggest project, a 200-unit luxury apartment complex called Riverside Gardens, was financed almost entirely with loans that he'd personally guaranteed. If that project failed, he'd lose everything. I also discovered that Tyler had been having affairs with several other women besides Sarah. The PI had photos of him with at least 3 different women over the past 2 years. Apparently, my wife wasn't special. She was just the latest in a long line of conquests. Armed with this information, I started making moves. First, I contacted the city planning department and filed complaints about Riverside Gardens. I'd noticed during my construction work that Tyler was cutting corners, using cheaper materials than specified, skipping safety inspections, and building on land that hadn't been properly surveyed. I provided detailed documentation of every violation I could find. The city launched an investigation, and within a week, they'd shut down construction on Riverside Gardens, pending a full review. Tyler's contractors walked off the job, and he was facing massive fines and potential criminal charges. But I wasn't done. Next, I reached out to Tyler's investors. These were wealthy people who'd trusted Tyler with their money based on his reputation and past successes. I anonymously sent them copies of the city violations, along with some financial documents the PI had obtained, showing Tyler's creative accounting practices. Within days, Tyler's investors were pulling out of Riverside Gardens and demanding their money back. But Tyler had already spent most of their money on the project that was now shut down. He was facing multiple lawsuits and potential bankruptcy. Still not done. I then contacted the IRS with detailed information about Tyler's tax evasion. I provided them with copies of invoices showing personal expenses claimed as business deductions, evidence of unreported income, and documentation of his offshore accounts. The IRS launched an audit that would eventually result in Tyler owing over $2 million in back taxes and penalties.
But the piece de resistance was what I did with the photos of Tyler's other affairs. I had the PI compile a comprehensive report showing Tyler's pattern of cheating, not just with Sarah, but with multiple women over several years. I sent copies of this report to all the women involved, including their husbands and boyfriends. The fallout was immediate and devastating. One of the women was married to Tyler's biggest client, who immediately canceled a $5 million project and sued Tyler for breach of contract. Another was the daughter of a city councilman who'd been helping Tyler get permits approved. That relationship ended both the affair and Tyler's political connections. The third woman was Sarah's best friend, Lisa. When Lisa's husband found out about the affair, he didn't just get angry, he got vengeful. He posted everything on social media, exposing Tyler as a serial cheater and Sarah as a woman who'd destroyed her marriage and betrayed her best friend. The scandal exploded through our small town like wildfire. Everyone knew everyone else's business, and this was the juiciest gossip anyone had seen in years. Tyler and Sarah went from being respected members of the community to social pariahs overnight. Sarah called me crying, begging me to make it stop. She said she was sorry, that she'd made a terrible mistake, that she wanted to come home. But it was too late. The damage was done, and honestly, I didn't want her back. I'd realized during this whole process that I deserved better than someone who could betray me so completely. Tyler, meanwhile, was in full damage control mode. He tried calling me, sending emails, even showing up at my temporary apartment. He was desperate, offering to give me money, to buy me out of any deals we'd done together, to do whatever it took to make me stop. But I wasn't going to stop until he'd lost everything, the way I had. The final blow came when I revealed Tyler's affairs to our parents. Our parents had always favored Tyler, always held him up as the perfect son. They'd been disappointed when they found out about his affair with Sarah, but they'd chalked it up to true love, star-crossed lovers, all that romantic bullshit. But when I showed them evidence of Tyler's serial cheating, including timelines showing he'd been cheating on Sarah even while he was stealing her from me, they finally saw him for what he really was. Our father, who'd always been Tyler's biggest supporter, cut him off completely. Our mother, who'd been planning to help Tyler financially during his legal troubles, decided she couldn't enable his behavior anymore. Tyler was truly alone. Within 6 months, Tyler had lost everything. Riverside Gardens was abandoned, and he was facing criminal charges for the building violations. His other projects had been canceled or taken over by other developers. His investors had sued him into bankruptcy. The IRS had seized his assets to pay his tax debt. He'd also lost Sarah. Once she realized that Tyler was a serial cheater who'd been using her just like he'd used all the others, she tried to reconcile with me. When I refused, she filed for divorce anyway and moved back in with her parents. Tyler left town about a month ago. I heard he was working construction in another state, starting over with nothing. His real estate empire, built over 15 years, was completely destroyed. As for me, I'm doing well. The divorce was finalized last month. I have joint custody of Emma and Jake, and they're adjusting to the new normal. My construction company is thriving. Ironically, I've picked up several contracts that Tyler lost when his business collapsed. I've also started dating again. Her name is Rebecca, and she's a teacher at Emma's school. She's kind, honest, and nothing like Sarah. She knows my whole story, and she says she respects how I handled it, though she thinks I might have gone a little overboard. Maybe I did. Maybe I should have just divorced Sarah and moved on with my life. Maybe I should have been the bigger man and let Tyler face the natural consequences of his actions. But Tyler didn't just have an affair with my wife. He systematically destroyed my family, my trust, my sense of security. He looked me in the eye for months while he was betraying me, shook my hand at family dinners while he was planning to steal my wife. And then he had the audacity to tell me he loved her. Like that made it okay. Like love justified destroying my life. So I destroyed his life in return. I used his own weaknesses against him, exploited the shortcuts he'd taken, and made sure everyone knew exactly what kind of person he really was. Was it revenge? Absolutely. Was it justified? I think so. Was it worth it? I'm still figuring that out.
Some days, I feel guilty about how far I went. Tyler was my brother, and despite everything, I did love him once. Seeing him lose everything, watching him become a broken man who had to leave town in shame, sometimes makes me wonder if I went too far. But then I think about Emma and Jake, about how their lives were turned upside down by Tyler's selfishness. I think about the 6 months he spent laughing at me behind my back, probably thinking I was too stupid to figure out what was happening. And I think about all the other women he cheated with, all the other families he might have destroyed if I hadn't stopped him. Maybe I am a vengeful bastard. Maybe I should have turned the other cheek and moved on. But Tyler needed to learn that actions have consequences, and that you can't just destroy people's lives without facing repercussions. He destroyed my family, so I destroyed his empire. In the end, I think we're even.
But sometimes, late at night when I'm lying in bed alone, I wonder if revenge really was worth losing my brother forever. Then I remember how he looked at me when he told me he loved my wife, how casual he was about destroying my life, and I know I made the right choice. Some betrayals are unforgivable. Some bridges are meant to be burned. Tyler learned that the hard way.